I've had dreams where I'm laying with a snake, like in the form of a human being, but it's a snake. Like, it's big enough to be like a human being, but you can see that it's a snake that I'm laying next to. And it's not, and it's like in a dream, but I'm outside of my body looking at myself. I've had instances where snakes are literally going into me, coming out of me. There are times that literally, after I have a dream about the snake, or have dreams about snakes, or whatever the case may be, I find myself masturbating. It became a problem to the point where I couldn't sleep without doing it. Because there are times that I will literally go get a ring and put a ring on my finger. And to me, it's fashion because I like it. Why not on any other finger but on my ring finger? Until one day there was a deliverance. The man of God was led, my spiritual father was led to like literally remove the ring from my finger. In the video, you see me crawling on the floor looking for the ring that doesn't mean anything and crying, looking for the ring.
Welcome to another episode of the Dennis Benso Show. Today I have an amazing couple on the podcast. When we say love, it's easy to say your vows when you are getting married, when you are in the honeymoon phase. But when you go through the ups and downs of life, then you really know the definition of love. So today I have Mr. and Mrs. Yeboah on the podcast to share their life story with us. Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Yeboah, to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's start you guys' story by, how did you guys meet? Who's going first?
There you go first. Now you go first.
We met through mutual friends, and it was a weird way. So I know his bandmates that are in Ohio. They used to come to Connecticut to do programs and stuff, and I met them in Connecticut. But he never comes. So I think was it the first or the second time they came? The second time they came, I was part of the team there and helping out and everything. And I'm also part of a group called True Worshippers in DMV. And they're like, we were talking about the True Worshippers, and I'm like, I'll be going this year. And they're like, if you're going, look out for Clint. Clint will also be there, and
so you
everything.
guys didn't meet in Ohio?
No.
Hey, okay.
So, fast forward, I think in August, I went to True Worshippers, and he was there, and I had heard about him, and I think he had also heard about me. But no introduction. So when I saw him that night, I waved at him. He was behind the drums the musicians, sorry. So I waved just to, say hi that Friday night. And then after the service, we spoke. We introduced ourselves and then we spoke. We kind of hit it off because it was mainly about like music, the atmosphere, and like we shared that common interest.
Yeah, and ministry and stuff like that. I think so. It was one of those things that we were talking about or having a conversation over and stuff like that. So I think from that point, and it's funny because I didn't get her number. I got her Facebook.
He asked for my Facebook.
I asked for her Facebook,
Why?
but not in. I don't know. And then my friend, he was there. He was like, "Bro, what are you doing? Get her number. What do you mean? What do you need Facebook for? You got a phone. She got a phone. Get a number." I was like, all right. And that's when we exchanged numbers from that day. And then I think from that day. I think like towards the end, because they're True Worshippers, they it's usually a Friday night, and then they do Saturday, and then that's the concert. So that's like literally the last day. So I think from Sunday was when we met up and went to the park and stuff like that. We talked, got to know each other a little bit more. So I think from that point was when we just started, texting.
No, he started texting me the night of.
The night of, okay.
The night he took my number. And then he's like, oh, am I going to be at because True Worshippers does like a picnic. He's like, oh, are you going to be at the picnic? I'm like, I'm part of True Worshippers. Of course I'm going to be at the
You have to ask, because sometimes you could be part of something, but if you're not there,
yeah, because a lot of people are flying out after
after the concert,
yeah,
because that's literally the Saturday is literally the main event.
Yeah.
So after the main event, it's like we're done, and then after that, it's like the picnic and stuff like that on Sunday. So,
and that was the day that we were all like kind of leaving. So he was gonna come back to Ohio, and I was gonna go back to Connecticut or Boston area.
Which year was this?
2016.
2016.
Yeah.
So how did you guys started dating? Were both of you interested at that time, or how was it like?
I mean, at that time, we were just talking until I told her that, okay,
You told me what?
I did tell you.
When? Okay, so
it was okay. So when we got back to our various locations, we talked. We talked like every day. Why are you looking at me like that? Anyway, we did. We talked every day. We also talked during the evenings, before going to bed, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know exactly how long we were talking. Was it like a few months, 3 months after?
Well, when we were talking, I wasn't interested, and not because of anything. It's just because I know the circle of friends, and I hadn't had a good track record with relationships. So at that moment, at that time, I didn't want a relationship. Like, I was dating to eat. Basically.
You were dating to eat.
Just eat food,
Okay.
That's
okay.
Good food. You can eat Chinese.
At the time, I was talking to like 3 other guys when I met him, and I didn't want to put him in that category because I didn't want to date him and it not go well. And then we have like the circle of friends that we know, and then now it's awkward because obviously he's part of the band. If we're doing programs and I'm part of the team and it's going to be awkward. So my mindset wasn't even there when it comes to him. So one of his really closest friends, I think his best friend, that I knew before him was part of the team, called me and said, Clint really likes you and he won't stop talking about you, and every time your name come up or he's talking about you, his face light up, and I'm like, because it wasn't news to me. At that time, guys approached me. And so every time he brought it up, I was just like, it's a no. And every time I talk to him, I don't direct the conversation to a point where he will go towards that area as far as like, oh, I like you. We talked all the time. We did.
Did you like him at the time?
I think I liked him as a friend. I liked him being there.
You friend zoned him?
I immediately.
Yeah, I was friend zoned.
Immediately.
Like friend zoned.
Not because I didn't like him. I guess I didn't want the end result of how every other one had been. Mm-hmm. So just to save that face, and he's a good person, and he's a good friend. So I put him in a friend zone.
Okay. So you said you were dating for food. Can you explain that?
So at the time I was living on my own. So, guys will ask you, do you want to go out? I was never really serious because I had gone through a series of relationships that did not work out. So I wasn't serious with dating. But if you want to take me out, I'm a single girl, single mother living on her own. I could put money towards something else if you want to feed me. But so, yes, I was dating to eat because a girl's hungry and a girl's gotta eat. But also, I felt like all these guys and that was another thing. The guys that were approaching, I felt like they were not ready for relationships and they're testing waters to see.
Oh, okay.
So we can date and I'll let you know up front. And another thing was a lot of the guys that I was dating, I was talking to at that time, I made a vow with God to be celibate until I'm married. And I use that as a clutch for myself because a lot of the guys run when they hear that. And then the ones who don't run 3-4 months down the line, you're going to find out that they really don't want that part, even when they say that, oh, I'm good with it, I understand you, and I'll ride with you on it. Later down the line, they're like, well, I'm here, I'm committed to you, so no. So it doesn't work. To the point where I went to dinner with someone and then he's like, you want to come back to my place? And I'm like, no, because nothing good is going to come out of going back to your place. And he looked at me in my face and he said, you need to lower your standards. I'm like, because you have a kid already and I have a 16-year-old son. And it's part of the process and the reasons why I decided to be celibate because you're dating all these guys and every single one of them want to sleep with you, but no one wants to be serious. At some point, I was just tired of it. So that was not even just a matter of me, it was a matter of going into covenant with God that I'm going to keep sexual purity if you will give me the man that is after your heart and after my heart. So I had a covenant. So anyone who came in that was not willing to go through that with me, I knew wasn't the one. So he said I need to lower my standards. You have a son and you're single, like what do you have to offer? And I'm like, well, I guess you're not it. My standards might be high for you, but it's not high for somebody else. It's not high for the right person. So, and he's like, oh, so that's it? I'm like, is there anything else?
So when Clint came in the picture, so were you on a path of celibacy as well, or what happened?
I mean, yeah. So, yeah, I was, and mainly because that's what she wanted. So I wanted to honor that, and then also, yeah, I wasn't a virgin either when I met her. So it's like I kind of, for me, right, I just wanted to also be in that same mood too, because I was also trying to also seek God and just kind of just gain wisdom from him and stuff like that, because I can't do it on my own and stuff. So I, honored her wishes, and then also it helped me as well. Even though I wasn't like 100%, I don't know how I was feeling at the time, but let's just say that
he was into me enough.
Yes. Yes. But
even though, so like, let's say you, under normal circumstances, you hadn't made up your mind to be celibate,
right? True. Yeah. I haven't. But then, how things were going, I really wanted this to work. So I had to force myself to be like, okay, this is what's going to happen until you actually put a ring on it. And after marriage and stuff like that, like that was I had to keep reminding myself, okay, this is, and then go from there. But yeah, I other than that, I honored her wishes and stuff like that. She told me about that, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure.
Was it difficult?
Like I'm gonna be honest with you. It was extremely difficult.
It was
extremely difficult, but you know what? That's why I told you earlier. I had to seek God, because without God, trust me, I don't know what would happen. I'm being honest.
So there was a time that he came to visit me at my place.
Charlie.
And when he came to visit, because it was going really well, and usually the people it was a long distance relationship because he's in Ohio, 10 hours drive. So he drove 10 hours to come and see me one weekend. And when he came, I was like, okay, this is my opportunity to see if he's really real about what he's saying. So he slept in my room, he slept on my bed, and then we're getting ready to go to sleep. We're laying in bed sleeping, and we're not fully asleep. I'm like, okay, he's not trying anything.
Was it the first time you guys were sleeping together?
Yep.
On the same bed, the very first time. Yep.
I'm like, he's not trying anything. Okay, then I'll back up into him a little more on the bed, and
you were doing this intentionally.
Okay. I did it a couple times, and he would just kind of cuddle me. So, like, the next day I asked him if he doesn't find me attractive, like, what's going on?
Why do women do that? Why? Like, I find you attractive, but did you forget what you told me the first time?
Exactly.
No, this is also important, because maybe you don't find me attractive. Maybe you're gay and I'm a clutch.
Okay.
Where I was coming from, all the other guys had also tried. So I needed to make sure that, one, you're attracted to me and you're not gay. And two, that you're truly attracted to me and you're honoring what we share.
But you should have said, congratulations, you passed.
I know, right?
No, I'm not going to say that. Then he's going to know that it was a test. He didn't know until we're married.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
So yeah, and then when we were dating, we also did a thing together where we like fasted on the days that we were born. So I fast with him on his day, and then he fasts with me on my day. So it became a thing where it helped us in our celibacy walk, where we would see each other on weekends or long weekends, and we are fasting. So it helps with the holiness and the commitment and everything. So you're fasting, you're praying. After that, are you going to ruin it by defiling yourself? But there was one time that we came
very close.
What happened?
We came very close.
He had to leave. So, because he's not a virgin, I'm not a virgin. We're not playing with that fire.
Very difficult.
Very. And I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm strong. Nah. So he had to leave me in the hotel room. I think it was over like, was it Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah. I came to visit him and his family, and we went back to my hotel room. And yeah. And mind you, that was because we fast on weekends. I think, was that on the Saturday or the...
It was on the Saturday. We went out.
We went out, and then we came back with like leftovers. So we're just hanging out, and we fasted that day.
It's interesting. Right after fasting, that's when you get tempted, right?
You get tempted. I feel like you get tempted 24/7, but it's just
it's the intensity of the situation is right after fasting. Like you get tempted, but most of the times you don't see that you're being tempted
until after you broke your fast.
That fasting, it's after fasting that it gets you.
High. Your flesh becomes.
I jumped off the bed like a crazy person. I was like, "Whoo! You gotta go! You gotta go!" I think I went to the bathroom.
Yeah, she went to the bathroom.
I ran to the bathroom.
What other boundaries did you guys put in place?
Kissing.
No kissing.
We did kiss, but it was not like.
It wasn't like.
It was controlled.
Yeah, it wasn't where it's like it's leading to somewhere.
It was controlled. Yeah. So we did kissing, lip pegging, like, but it was very controlled. when we don't see each other nakedness, like we didn't. So when I come to visit or he comes to visit and we are like in my place, or I give him his space, and he also we talked about these things, how it will help us to be able to sustain what we are doing. So he respected me enough to know that this is my walk. So me, I know that when he's in there, I'm not walking in there. But for him to be able to control himself to not, so he respected me enough. He respected the covenant. He respected what I had said, not to walk into the room or into the bathroom when I was getting ready and all those things. So it helped.
Interesting.
Yeah, you have to set those boundaries. You're not even superwomen and supermen fail when it comes to those things.
Flee from temptation.
Flee! There's a reason why the Bible said flee and not fight.
So do you think being celibate, helped you guys in terms of your marriage, or in terms of choosing the right person?
It helped me. I'll say it helped me. And I think it helped our marriage because that's how I got to know that he was the right person for me. And because we were prayerfully doing it, not just, we were prayerfully doing it. And it helped my prayer life. I think it helped his, but I can't speak for him.
It helped me. It definitely did. Like, from then when we were dating and stuff like that, I've come a long way. Yeah, I did.
Okay. So let's backtrack a little bit, if we will, to your story before Clint. Your experience with men in general before Clint. What was it like?
My experience with men was... So, like I said, I was at a point in my life where I was not looking for a relationship. At that point, I wasn't looking for anything. So, it was because of past relationships that had not worked out, people promising marriage, and all of a sudden they just don't want it anymore. Or something they cheat or they do, it's just always something outrageous. So I decided I told myself that I didn't want to be married anymore. And I said those words out loud. And you have to understand that words are powerful. And the way you say those words are powerful, especially when it's coming from the deepest part of your soul. And it was coming from the deepest part of my soul because I was hurt so many times. So that was a seed that I had planted. Now, backtracking, there was... one of the guys that I was dating I think we had been dating for a couple of years, maybe 2 years, 2.5 years or so. And that's how we even started this whole celibacy journey thing. And I started with him, and he also kind of came into the realization of Christ and everything. So when we started dating, we were not celibate. We got to a place where we decided we want to be celibate. And I knew that I wanted that pact with God. But then here I am dating someone for this long period of time, and it's gonna lead somewhere. In my mind, it's gonna lead somewhere. So I was always praying, God, show me a way, God, show me a way. And at the time, he wasn't that serious with his Christian walk. So, and I was, and I'm always, every time. So I think when we're dating, I probably asked him maybe 3 times when he was going to church, if he was going to go to church. And there is the thing about do not be unequally yoked with someone. But I felt like in my instance with him, it was a way because the way God turned that whole thing around is very mysterious. So I think one New Year, he got up and he said he's going to go to church. The reason he didn't want to go to church is because the same people that he was going to church with are the same people that he see at the club when he goes to the club, the same people who will come to his mom and they will be gossiping about the people in church. So he was like, no, if I'm going to do what I'm doing, I'm just going to sin and not worry about. So it was through us dating, talking, and praying. Like I was praying, and I wasn't nagging him about church, even though I wanted him to like be in church and stuff. So one day he started going to church. He promised the New Year he was going to go to church, and he never stopped going to church. He kept going to church to the point where I think he's now a youth pastor in the church. I think, don't quote me, I think. But he's that serious with his Christian walk. So God took us through a process for us to understand certain things. So after him, and I saw how God took us through the process, and I was like, nah, God, this is you. Therefore, I'm building this covenant with you. Like after the relationship was over, I built a covenant with God that I'm not, the next person I sleep with is going to be my husband on my wedding night. Even though I was tired and somebody didn't want to wait. But anyway. So I made that covenant with God after that. You have to understand, sex is spiritual. And that's what a lot of us don't understand. And when I came to find out that sexual immorality, let me put it that way, it's in the 10 Commandments twice. It's the only thing. Sex is the only thing that is in the 10 Commandments twice. Fornication and adultery, they all relate to sex. So it's something that you have to really consider. Like seriously consider, because women, we have been made to like receive. And I found out that all these things, through prayer, through revelation, through the Bible, through research, I found out that the man gives and the woman receives. So the man, that's why men can go out and have sex with whoever and still come and lay down. But a woman, it's an emotional attachment. It's a lot of things. A woman cannot just go have sex and come and lay down. They process things. So if you are receiving from the man, you're receiving everything from the man. And everywhere they've been, and whatever thing that they had, you're receiving all of that onto you. So that's why it's so, God in his wisdom has cautioned us not to do certain things before marriage, because marriage is also spiritual. So now he has done stuff with people, I've done stuff with people, and now when you get intimate, I'm not saying that is the reason why people have issues in their marriage, but it contributes to the reason why people have issues in their marriage. So when you talk about these things, especially like with some of my young girls and the youth that I used to mentor, it's like they feel like, oh, but it's not anything, or this is how I can keep him. No, it's not. You're being trapped by the idea that this is how you can keep him. And how many of them have you kept by doing this? Clearly, it's not working. So try something different. And like I said, through this covenant that I made with God, I was able to get the right one. We've had our share of battles and everything, but there's nothing that, we have gone through that we haven't been able to go through together. There's not a time where I feel like I'm in it by myself. It's not a time where I can't speak for him, but I want to believe that there's not been a time where he also feels like he's been by himself, because we had an understanding. We communicated and still communicate these things, because when we decided that, okay, this is serious and is going to lead to marriage, that's when we implemented the fasting, the prayer, the getting deeper in the word and everything. And I made sure that he is going to be my head. And at the time, he wasn't there spiritually. I'm a pastor's kid. I caught the revelation of God and Christ, I want to say before he did, if I'm right.
I wasn't there spiritually.
So whilst we were dating, I pulled him into the atmosphere or into where I was in my relationship with God. And I had him understand how I survive. Because with everything that I had gone through, with everything that was, pertaining to my life, relationships, a lot of these things, I went through it, but it was through prayer. It was through, getting deeper with God and finding my own relationship with God. So when he came into the picture, it was very clear because he wasn't on my list. Like I said, I was talking to 3 other guys. None of them I was sleeping with, but I was talking to 3 other guys. And the guys that I was talking to, I was just talking to because, you need people. And I didn't think any of them were gonna go anywhere. So there was a point in my life where in prayer, I think I had finished doing my quiet time. We were speaking. We talk all the time. So I take 3 buses to work. So one day I had to stay in late to finish some things at the office, and coming back, taking the buses, I was on the phone with him the whole time. No, I think I wasn't on the phone with him yet. But coming home,
I think you called a few guys you were talking to. Yeah,
but the main reason why I even called them, because I was late, the connecting buses, one of them did not, so I had to drive. It dropped me off further away from where I live. So walking back, I needed someone to talk to, and it was late at night.
How late?
It was 10, 11? It was late. And it was literally a 30-minute walk home. So I started calling all these dudes that I was talking to, and no one is picking up. Would it have made a difference if someone else had picked up and not him? I don't know. But I called him and he picked up on the first ring. To the point where I'm like, why? Are you on? Are you using the phone or something?
I mean, my phone is always with me, so and it vibrates when you call. I just made the noise, but anyway.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I said it did.
Oh God.
And I picked up, So
and it's funny till date, unless he's with our children and unless he's genuinely busy doing something, till date I call him and on the first ring he's picking up. So these are so that night when I called him, he picked up. We talked. I went home. I was taking a shower. He was still on the phone. We're talking and everything to the point where I got in bed and I literally fell asleep talking to him. And I guess he couldn't he was talking. I wasn't responding. So he literally hung up and called me back for me to charge my phone. So the next morning, I was doing my quiet time, and in my quiet time, after I had done my quiet time, I was praying, and then in my Bible, I saw a paper. Now, I made a list, I think 5 years prior to meeting him. Is it 5 years? It was years prior to meeting him. And that list was from listening to Lady Reverend Adelaide Howard Mills. She was doing one of these sermons, and she said that write the things you want to see in your future husband or even your now husband and pray about it. So write what you want to see in your husband and pray about it. So I had that. I was doing it consistently for a while, but then the idea of I never want to be married. So it was just in my Bible. It was just stuck in my Bible. So that morning, for some reason, I saw that thing. I hadn't seen it in a very long time. So then I saw it, I'm like, So then I took the paper and then I took 4 papers. I even started with the first 3. before I even brought I brought a paper for him. So when I brought a paper for him, all of them, some of them were 50%, some of them were 30%, and another person was 70%. But when I tell you that this man checked everything on my box, everything.
Drum roll.
If you don't go somewhere, I'll put you outside. And then so that was the point, that because at the time, his friend has told me, oh, Clint is really into you. He has expressed something, and when he expressed it, I told him, I was like, I don't think it's for me. I told him that I think it would be good for us to be friends, And I know it took a lot of courage for him to actually open up and tell me, because his friend told me before he did. And I don't know if he told his friend that he liked. I think you told him you like me.
Well, I mean, he could tell.
He could tell. So it was even before. So he was trying to get my feel of what I think about him, because he's really into me. And I'm like, dude, no, you already know. Like, and he religiously, every time we spoke, brought up Clint. So at some point he was like, but why are you always saying that it's not going to work, or what if it doesn't? What if it does? So that statement that he made, I remember exactly where I was when I was talking to him when he made that statement. When he said that, my whole mind shifted. So then when I talk to him, I try to find the qualities that I'm looking for. And then the day I made that list, and then I saw that, so subconsciously, I had the list in my mind and in my head. So, like, when the day I pulled the paper and I did all that with all the other people and then him, and he checked everything, I was like, I remember sitting on the bed and I just said, you think you're funny, talking to God. I'm like, you think you're funny? And then the more I talked to him, the more I realized that he is the person for me. So no, initially I didn't fall. I wasn't in love with him. I didn't fall. It wasn't love at first sight. It wasn't for me.
How about you?
No, I liked her, but I wasn't in love yet. So
so it's easy for you to fall in love with somebody else.
You see, this is the reaction. From now, I'm gonna ignore that statement because I know she's teasing me. She's always doing that. It's cool. It's okay. It's okay. Go ahead. Tease away.
Oh my God. My lashes are about to come off. So that's when I started like looking at him seriously and then so I told him, I'm like, okay, that's when I told him that if you want us to make this happen, this is my conditions, this is ABC. And then he's like, okay. And then he was like, I'm willing to try it with you because I've done things and I've not been proud of them sexual wise and everything. So yes, this is different for me. And I was like, is he just telling me stuff? So that's when I was like, okay. So every time, like, I'm gonna test him, I'm gonna try him, I'm gonna test him, I'm gonna try him. So
that first time when I went to go visit her, do you know what she was doing? What was she doing? She was doing this. Her buttocks, like this. No, with piano.
I thought you don't speak Twi.
With piano, with piano. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm trying to sleep, and y'all doing this.
You are not trying to sleep. Don't play me. Don't play me.
Like this. I'm like, okay.
But look at us now.
You guys should thank the friend. The friend who kept asking you.
Oh, Daniel, yeah. Daniel Bonsu, your flowers is coming. Yeah. So So prior to meeting him and all these things like get into play, the guy that I was dating, I think when we started getting serious, he started getting attacked. And there was a time where he was asleep, and then I'm not sure if it was a vision or it was in a dream, but I think he had a dream, and literally a snake head was literally like a snake was coming after him.
Hold on. So who was getting attacked?
The guy that I was dating, the guy that I said we decided we were going to be celibate and now we're going to be serious.
So this is before Clint.
This is before Clint. This is way before Clint.
Okay.
So that's when I realized, or that was my first encounter with me having a spiritual marriage. So yeah, my realization, because obviously it's been there, but I didn't know. So all the time that I was dating, everything. So anyway, he had a dream, and like a snake was literally, it came at him whilst he was sleeping, and he couldn't move. That was another thing. So it was like sleep paralysis, but so he said he couldn't move, he didn't know what to do, and I think he said, I asked him why. I asked him to leave me alone. It had something pertaining to me, and that's why he knew that it's about me.
So you were dating this guy, and then you guys were serious. Were you planning on getting married?
We were serious.
And then and this was a dream. He had a dream, and then he saw a snake, and the snake spoke to him that he should leave you alone. Nigerian movie. It sounds like a Nigerian.
I promise you.
It sounds like a Nigerian movie.
I promise you. So he said in that instance, he was like praying in his spirit because he couldn't move, he couldn't do anything. He was trying to shout Jesus, but it wasn't even coming out. He couldn't do anything. So he felt his spirit man praying. And then he saw the hand of God. He saw a hand, and he knew it was the hand of God appear and literally overcome the snake. Literally. And said, you cannot touch this one. So when he told me myself, I was shocked. Not shocked. I was shook. Because one, I hate snakes. To the core, I hate snakes. And two, I've had dreams where I'm laying with a snake, like in the form of a human being, but it's a snake. Like it's big enough to be like a human being, but you can see that it's a snake that I'm laying next to, and it's not. And it's like in a dream, but I'm outside of my body looking at myself. I've had instances where snakes are literally going into me, coming out of me, where I am.
If you're watching this video and you have not subscribed to this channel, then I don't know what you're waiting for. Please subscribe to this channel, because we have mind-blowing testimonies. We've shot some amazing testimonies that we can't wait to just release it. We are releasing once a week. Hopefully, eventually, we'll be able to release 2 or 3 times in a week. So please click on the subscribe button and click on the notification bell to get notified each and every time I release a new video. And also, if you're looking for a team, a media company to shoot your commercials, to shoot your weddings, to shoot your parties, or to give you some headshots for your flyers and everything, reach out to my team. That is DH Multimedia. On Instagram, you can DM us or you can give us a call, and we would take a very good care of you. Let's get into the testimony.
So when he said that, I was shook. I was like, So then I went into prayer, and then that's when I started dealing with my spiritual father more and more about, because he prays for me, and of course every time he prays for me there's manifestation. So he was working with me on something else. So when I went to him about this, because initially I felt like it was because of my fear of snakes. That's why I was like having these dreams and all these things. And of course, initially when I usually don't pray about it. But then I started, when he said what he said, I feel like my relationship with him really pushed me into my relationship with God, because then I was trying to find out what was really going on with me. Because remember, he was the same person that I had the pact with. He was the same person that we decided to seek God deeper. So I started really looking into dreams and I found out that there's nothing normal about having dreams about snakes or dogs or anyway. So I spoke with my spiritual father, and then we started engaging in prayer and fasting. Also, breaking off, especially with the person, with him that we were not celibate to begin with, and we decided to be celibate. It took prayer and fasting. It didn't happen just because we decided we're going to be celibate. We're celibate because we had been together before, sexually before. So of course it's hard, because this is somebody that you see all the time. You do whatever you want to at all times, whatever the case may be. So it took prayer and fasting together, because we had a cause, and we had to now set certain boundaries. We had to now do even dating. We were not going, because we've done things in the movies, and I'm not going to be.
That's interesting.
You didn't know this? Okay.
I'm a grown woman now, okay?
You guys are gonna have a long conversation after this podcast.
I tell you. I doubt it though. I feel like the way we are, I feel like we might not know certain things, but it's not like a shock or like.
I was just believing.
Please, but we are having a long conversation, because I want to know how you drop out of anyway.
Oh Lord.
Anyway, so we set boundaries for ourselves the way we date, because we used to date where we are literally by ourselves, private, not private as in not everybody, because people knew we're dating, but in terms of like when we go out, we like it to be more private, more intimate, let me put it that way, because it's always leading to something. So when we decided to switch the way we date and the way so it was more like, okay, we're dating, we'll go to dinner, we'll go to the movies during the time that people are at them, because we used to go to the movies and like in the morning or afternoon when nobody's at the movies and it's just us in our little corner or the back. Anyway, so
look at him.
I'm not gonna look at him. So I said I was young. I was young. Don't play with me.
I was young too.
Exactly.
Even in my car that I sold, so.
The car that I rode in?
Oh shit, yeah. Yep, that one.
So there are, like, you have to set boundaries for yourself. So that helped me, and then I was able to, like, be praying with my spiritual father, and the more things were revealed in that aspect about the spiritual marriage and all those things. So it got to a point where even though I knew, but the way that things were unfolding in my life, I didn't know that it was related to that, because there are times that I will literally go get a ring and put a ring on my finger. And to me, it's fashion, because I like it. Why not on any other finger, but on my ring finger?
Just on your ring finger?
I will put it on my ring finger. I will put it on my ring finger. And it's not like a decorative, like, there are some rings you see, you're like, oh, it's a fashion ring. No, I will literally get like an engagement type of ring, spend $300-$500 on a ring and put it on my finger. Why? So there was a time that someone asked me, someone saw it on my face, like, hey, now you are not married and you are wearing rings. What if someone see you and they want to approach you? And I'm like, the right person will know how to approach me and ask me, because I know people who are married and they still get people approach them. That was my mindset. Until one day there was a deliverance. There was a prayer happening and deliverance took place, and the man of God was led, my spiritual father was led to like literally remove the ring from my finger. And in the video, you see me crawling on the floor looking for the ring that doesn't mean anything and crying looking for the ring. And it got to a point in my life, I said, I don't want to be married. I don't want to be married. And all the things that I kept doing all those times, the sexual immoralities and everything, it was all channeled towards that.
So you were married spiritually, and it was, I would say, manifesting in these things.
In sequences, yes.
Like buying the rings, you telling yourself, I don't want to get married, if you were not serious with guys.
Like, I could date someone for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, his scent, like, I remember this guy, I was dating this guy, oh God bless this guy. I asked him, I'm like, he's sitting, I'm like, why are you breathing? Like, like, why are you breathing? And I specifically asked that, and he was like, what do you mean? I'm like, why are you breathing so loud? Like, why are you? And I was that fed up with guys, like, and these are guys that I'm sleeping with. These are guys that we're like, you know, and these are guys that were quote unquote serious. So any guy who came in my life that was serious, I end up like cutting it off or creating always something. And the ones that are not serious is also another thing. I end up getting hurt, my heart broken, and all these things. Literally. And that I don't break up. I don't break up with them. I just stop. They call it ghosting now.
Yeah,
it's ghosting.
Yeah. No, I will not be picking up your calls anymore. That's how you know we're not dating. And then there are people who have spoken to like my cousins and stuff like, hey, your cousin or not your sister, this. And then I'll be so furious and I'll call. So you don't know when someone has broken up with you or you don't know when someone don't want you in their lives anymore. And but I'm at fault. Because these are human beings. But to me, at the time, there's a time that I had literally a fight with one of the guys that I was dating. He showed up at my job with chocolate and flowers. I told him to go home. He didn't call me when he was coming. So I don't want to see him.
Wow.
Yeah, so you got the better version of me.
Yeah. I really did,
No, seriously. And it was series of things that kept happening.
But you didn't know.
I did not know.
And you were a PK, a pastor's kid.
Yes.
So, like, when these things happen, eventually did you open up to your dad or?
No. So, I am a private person. I am very open, but I'm a private person. I am so private that if you want to know something about me, unless I know the kind of person you are, I'm not, or unless I don't mind that thing going out, I can tell you. With my parents, it was different because I didn't even understand what was going on. And I didn't know that it was even, to me, it wasn't anything. So until prayers and fasting and deliverance was taking place, I didn't know. There are times, and I'm going to be vulnerable, because I know someone is going through this thing. There are times that literally, after I have a dream about the snake, or have dreams about snakes, or whatever the case may be, I find myself masturbating. And it's became a problem to the point where I couldn't sleep without doing it. I will come from work. I used to do like night shift, so I'll come in the morning and then I have to sleep and then go to my afternoon 3 p.m. shift or whatever. I could not sleep until I was into pornography, and it was ridiculous. And it started always after I have those dreams, then all of a sudden I feel the urge to do these stupid things. And I never felt the urge to do it with a guy. Whenever I will literally have sex with a guy, and most of the times I'm not satisfied. And I'm not saying like someone who's a 5-minute person. Like, I'm talking about something that should satisfy a human being. I remember one of the guys that I was dating, we had sex for a long period of time to the point where he's like, I feel like I'm going to ejaculate blood. And I will go home and still watch porn and masturbate. So it took consecutive periods of prayer, deliverance, consecration on my part, and seeking God on my part. To the glory of God, today, even when I see sex in movies, I'm like, what is this? But before, I could be sitting there and see something. God.
Hey there, sorry for the interruption, but time and time again, I keep getting phone calls, I keep getting DMs about the type of cameras to use, the type of lights to use, what are the best lenses to use. So I've made a list in the description. If you're just starting out, you're just using your phone to shoot, and you have only $100, I've made the list for you, the type of light to use, the type of light and stand you need to shoot your contents. But for the intermediate level, if you have less than $1,000 to spend, I have a list of equipment for you. And if you want to spend more than $1,000 to get the best equipment out there, then those are also down for you. And I'll leave my personal equipment, the type of camera I use. I'm a Canon shooter. I only use Canon. That's what I started with. So the equipment that I use personally, I've listed it down there for you. Also, for my fellow content creators, I have good news for you. Don't tell anyone. It's a secret between you and I. So I just stumbled on this platform which makes posting content very easily. Imagine creating content and you click a button and it goes to all the platforms. You don't have to go to Instagram, then move to TikTok, then move to Facebook, then move to YouTube, then move to LinkedIn to post your content. You post it once on one platform and it distributes it for you. That's amazing, right? This platform is called Metricool. I just found out and I was blown away by how fast and effective it is. And it is for free. Yes, it is for free. Unless you are a social media manager for a lot of accounts, like 2, 3, 4, 5 accounts, then you're making money, right? So they got to charge you for your service. But if you're like me and you only have one platform that you're managing, then it is for free. I've left that link in this description. Just click on it, sign up, and you're good to go. If you have enough content, you can schedule all the posts for like months and months ahead, and it will post automatically for you. That's mind-blowing, right? Yeah. Okay, let's get into the testimony. So there are a lot of people who are hypersexual. I was going to ask if you were hypersexual. And there are a lot of people who, like, they've been watching a lot of pornography, they've been masturbating, and they still can't. I think I saw somewhere there's a guy who masturbates like 5 to 7 times a day.
It ruins lives.
And they think it's normal or something, and they don't know that some of these things are manifestations of spiritual marriage.
Yes.
And it's very, very interesting. My wife was we first moved here. My wife was doing this. She's a social worker, and she does therapies. She's a therapist, so social worker. And she was working with these people. I don't know. She was working in this facility with sex offenders and kids, and they will give them masturbation breaks. And they'll be like, you have to encourage the kids to masturbate because either than that they'll be aggressive sexually. My wife was there for like a week or two. She was like, no, I can't be doing this job. So she had to quit. And then we don't know the consequence of some of these things. Yes. Especially pornography and masturbation. And I was watching one podcast, a Nigerian podcast, and then there was this lady who said, it was like something that a man can take 20 to 30 minutes to do. The vibrator will do it in like 1 or 2 minutes. So there's no man who can replace her dildo.
So you want to tell me that's not a manifestation of a spiritual marriage? No, listen to that.
Yeah.
And these are all part of the devices of the devil. Yeah. Because you have to understand that when God created the man and the woman to be together, it's not just when you're together with a man, it's not just that part of him that you're together with. Because when you're intimate with, quote unquote, with your wife, it's different. Yeah. When it comes to this intimacy, it's different from him, God forbid. It's different from a man. Let me not even use you an example and speak it into manifestation. But it's different from a man just having sex with just anybody and then their wives. It's completely different. Yeah. Because a man can go have sex with someone. The way that the woman will do it to him, he will now want his wife to do the same thing. Not necessarily because he wants that woman. Yeah. So do you now want to tell me that there is difference? And it happens so often that we have classified it as it's normal. Yeah. But it's not. And that's one of these are some of the things that I wish that Christianity will wake up to. Because there are Christians who are having these battles that keep saying that it's normal. But let's go into the Bible and talk about these things. Someone would say that, masturbation is not in the Bible, or vibrators are not in the Bible. But check what you're doing. Does it correlate with the will of God? Does it correlate with what God has said? First of all, sex is not supposed to be outside the context of marriage. And to the point where now you can boldly say that you don't need a man because you have something that's... And it's sad. It's sad. When we got married, because I had been celibate for a very long time, it was hard for me. It was hard for me to so my husband likes for me to approach him. But for me, it's not even in my head. Until he brings it up or he approaches, it's not in my head. So I literally now had to reprogram my mind. Yeah. Because I love this man and I want to make him happy. So now and when we got married, I read books. I can't speak for you. I've read books, I've done researches because this thing is for life for me. So what is it going to take for it to seem that way and for us to enjoy, not just because it's life, it's like we are in prison. No. So I've read books, I've done research, I've listened to podcasts, Christian podcasts, worldly I've done my research about marriage and what it takes and how the man views marriage, how the man views sex, how all these things. And I have literally reprogrammed my mind and conditioned my mind when it comes to marriage. So now 5 years down the road, I think I'm better than I know I'm better than how I was before, because it's a battle. Yeah. It's a battle. So like, and it's so funny how the devil, if you don't take care, the devil will misconstrue it to you and make you seem like you are not attracted to the man. But it had nothing to do with that. So if you're looking for the best interest of your situation, you always look for the best outcome. And that's something that sometimes we lack, because we always think for self. And I am all about my husband because I prayed about it. I am very independent. If you leave me, I can live without this man. But I pray to God to tie our hearts together to the point where when I come and he's sitting there in a certain way, I know that something is wrong with my husband. 5 years. And yes, 70% of the time it's me. 70% of the time it's me. But then we talk about it. That's why I feel like I say that communication is important. Communication is important. Yeah, when we got married, before we were getting married, I was attacked. Like, in my dreams, I will wake up and I have things on me, like marks on me, like I've been in a fight. And I wake up and I don't remember the dream, but I have marks on me. And of course, I'm gearing straight into prayer. Straight into prayer. Straight into prayer. So that helped me fortify myself. And that's one thing about seeking God. There's no way you will seek God diligently and not find God.
So you see marks like scratches on your...
Scratches, literally. There's scratches on places I can't reach.
And you were like...
This was when we were getting towards our marriage. This was in 2018 now. Like, we are planning our wedding. Planning our wedding. And then he started now having dreams. So he'll call me and he'll be like, I had a dream. I had a weird dream. I'm like, what was it? So now I was very conscious when it comes to dreams. Because of the research and everything that I was going through, so there's no way you can tell me, I had a weird dream and I'll just let it go.
Clint, what was some of the dreams you had?
I think this one in particular that I had was, I think one morning I woke up, well, before I woke up, like the dream, I felt like someone was laying on top of me. But where I was positioned while sleeping, I was sleeping on my belly. So like I was sleeping on my belly, that kind of position. So, and I felt like someone was laying on my back. Like I felt heavier than usual. Like I'm being pressed into the mattress. So, I think that night, subconsciously, I knew that I was listening to music, because I always listen to music when I go to sleep. Like I had my music, it wasn't loud, of course, but like it would just be playing. I think I was playing some gospel tunes, and I know my TV was on. So the music was running. I knew for sure. I was still asleep, but like, I think I squinched my eyes open a little bit because I was like, I can't move. I was like, I couldn't move my body. Like the only thing I can move was my head. I can like move around, like, side to side. And I faced towards the wall, like where my bed was is like in the corner. So I faced towards the wall, and it was so weird. Like I saw like a shadowy figure. And I see my shadow, like I'm laying on the bed, like because it's reflecting from the TV screen, right? So So I see myself.
Oh, so you're looking at yourself in the TV screen?
Not in the TV screen, like
on the wall.
I'm faced towards the wall because the shadow is reflecting off the screen because it's bright. So I see myself. I'm laying down, sleep I'm laying down in the bed, and I see something sitting on top of me. Like the shadow, it was a shadow, and I saw it. I just couldn't turn my head to see who was behind because the way I was positioned. So I was like, "Who is that?" I couldn't even speak, and I was trying to move, and it was sitting on me, sitting on me, and from what I can tell, it looked like the arms were stretched out like this, and I tried to yell out the name Jesus, right? And I couldn't speak. My mouth couldn't move. I was trying, and I was doing I was humming, and I was trying to get, and I knew deep in my spirit, I was I know spiritually, I was saying in the name of Jesus, shouting for Jesus, but it wouldn't come out physically. So I think I started to mumble the name Jesus, and that's when it disappeared. And that's when I all of a sudden I jumped out of bed. I could move. So, and that's not the first time. The next one I had, and this was 2 months before the wedding. I had a dream. This time I was asleep. Sleep. And it was the same thing again. And when I opened I didn't open, I just kind of opened, cracked my eyes open just a little bit. And I kid you not, what I saw, I still can't explain it today. I felt like whatever it was that I saw, it was there. I can see it. I described it to her. I told her that what I saw, it looked like a female, right? I couldn't see the face because how I saw it was long curly hair, it was dark black hair, and it was as if it's been in water. It was wet. It was wet, and it was long, but I couldn't see its face. And it looked it wasn't it wasn't even a black figure. It was it had black hair, long hair, but the skin type, it was light. And it's funny too, because it was the weirdest thing, because I was seeing it, but I couldn't believe what I was seeing because it wasn't even dark out. It was in the morning. The sun was rising up. And I was like, what am I looking at? The next thing I know, I blinked once and it was gone, and I could move again. And that's when I called her. And
I'm like, did you pray? And he's like, no, I just called you. I said, you're making my job difficult. But yeah, and then immediately we went into prayer. We went into fasting. That day we did not eat.
Yeah, it was.
And it's funny, when I was being prayed for with the manifestation and everything that was happening, it is associated with water. And through the prayer.
And the thing is, what I saw, I don't know if it was a woman, but it looked like a woman, but I wasn't sure if it was. But all I knew was it had long black hair and it was wet, it was dripping, as if it was in water and it just came out of the water. You get what I'm saying? And it's funny because I remember when we went to Mass 2020 and her spiritual father, Pastor Stephen Aite, he was praying with us, and he the revelation that he was telling us about was he saw a demon that was like it had to be in it had a lot to do with water, because I remember he asked you about it, and with Pastor Steve, his first question to her was like, have you always been afraid to swim? I remember that question very well. Have you always been afraid to swim?
And it's so funny how, like, the things that it would have been easier, and I'm trying not to dive into certain areas, but there is a spiritual connection. So the little that I can give is, it's been revealed that when I was born, my father, the demonic realm of my father's side and my mother's side came together and decided to, because they decided to marry me off to one of the highest demonic entity in that realm. So that's where the spiritual marriage came from. So a couple months towards our wedding was not easy.
It's like they're not going to allow that to happen. No.
They will not allow it to happen.
And I think that day too, when we were praying with Pastor Steve, he did ask that question to her, and the thing was, whilst we were diving into that conversation, I remember Pastor Steve was looking dead at her, like eyeball to eyeball, but I noticed that she kept looking away whenever she would answer, and Pastor Steve would answer, "Why are you turning away?" And I think that's when the manifestation began, because at that point, he already saw it.
Yeah.
He already saw who was there and what that thing was. And sorry. And when he described it, I was like, wait a minute. I've seen that same entity before. And what I just explained, because...
Did you tell him?
I think I did... Oh my goodness. I think I did tell him that.
I think in that moment he was addressing that thing.
He was addressing it. So I didn't tell him. He was addressing that entity, right? And at the time, even when I, rewinding it back to when I was looking at it, that was my second time. That first time when it was at nighttime and I saw the shadow, it was the same entity. Because when as the entity was looking down like this, I also saw like hair, wet. It was wet. And I remember that time I was having chills and my bed was wet.
He had there are times that he will wake up and his whole bed is wet. That's not sweat.
It was wet. My pillow, bed sheet. It was wet and it was cold. So it was like I couldn't sleep like that. And I had to change it and go wash whatever. So,
and it's funny, I've never liked swimming. I don't like snakes. And it's like God does the things that he does for our benefit. I tried swimming, I almost drowned. And I was like, nope, it's not for me. So I never go in. I literally, someone was teaching me how to swim. I said, I don't want it. And it's for some reason, the way that my spirit rejects certain things, because there is a way that it could have opened a door for certain things to have manifested.
So if you had loved to swim and stuff, that would have opened doors.
Yes. So for some reason, the pool, you will see my leg dangling in the pool. I will be aware I can literally, but I don't have the desire to swim. When I see everybody, no.
Yeah, because to this day, honestly, what I was staring at, it was not human to me. All I knew was it had long hair. It was wet. I couldn't see its face. It's as if it had no face, but I just couldn't see the face. The hair was like covering that face. So and then with the whole deliverance,
and I'm telling you, like, my spiritual father had been working with me before we met.
Yeah.
So those who, I know the last video that I did about spiritual marriage, people need help. And we were discussing this before we started shooting. It's not a one-day thing.
It's not a one-day thing.
It's not a 1 week or 2 weeks. It's a very long process.
It's a long process.
It's a long process. It takes, and it's in dimensions. Because you have to understand that when the devil wants to get to you and he's got a hook on you, he's not letting go.
Even a thread, he's still not letting go.
So for you to be delivered, there was a gateway. And my gateway was the masturbation. Because that was, quote unquote, his way of getting to me. So I'm thinking I'm doing something by myself, but for some reason it's always after the dream. That's how it started. And then it got to a point now I couldn't do it if I couldn't sleep if I don't do it. So I literally came to an understanding of what was happening. I took a stand and decided to be a part of my own deliverance. That's what it takes. Because you can't be prayed for and then go back and do certain things that you're doing. You take a stand. And I'm not saying that, in one day I decided I don't want to do it anymore. No, there are times I opened my mouth and told myself, looked myself in the mirror and told myself. And I started by, whenever I have that feeling that I want to do something, I open the Bible and I start reading. Read the Bible and tell me that you want to masturbate. Stop praying and tell me. And that is what put me in a place of understanding the call of God on my life. Or understanding what God, how do I put this? It put me in a place of understanding who I was in God. And how God manifests himself to me. Because I was at a point where I didn't like what I was doing. I would do it and get down on my knees and cry. I opened up to one person. I cried like a baby, and I don't cry. I cried like a baby, opening up to that one person. Because I didn't know how to make it stop. What did I not buy? I bought so many things. I was downloading things. I was now ordering pornography, videos, DVDs, because 1 is not enough. 2 is not enough. And you are sitting there hours. How is that normal? Since when did that become a normal thing? But society or the devil has made this thing for some of us to believe that it's not. Listen, if this is your life, this thing is not normal. Take a stand. And when I say take a stand, I mean take a stand. And tell yourself, I looked myself in the mirror and told myself, nope, I'm not doing it. I'll grab the Bible and I'll stop. And this is how it became my lifestyle of grabbing the Bible, because this thing was, I was getting to the point of where I was getting addicted. I was already addicted because I couldn't sleep if I'm not doing it. So I became addicted. So it got to a point I'm reading the Bible, or I have the Bible app and it's reading and I'm sleeping. So now I'm sleeping with the Bible app. So what am I going to now pause it? And now you yourself in your spirit, you yourself, your spirit man, at some point, when you come to that space with you and God, at some point you know that no, your spirit now overtakes your body and takes control. When was the last time I watched anything remotely close to porn? I can't tell you. I cannot tell you.
So the attacks didn't stop after marriage, right? Especially on you.
No, I mean it went on for a bit, and then eventually it stopped. I think after it stopped after when we went to Massachusetts, Worcester, Massachusetts, to see Pastor Steve. At that time, when she was getting delivered, it stopped.
My daddy.
Because I think after that, I didn't see that entity again.
And he was like, this man can pray for me and then call me. Or sometimes I can be praying and crying unto God for something, and then he'll call me. Or sometimes he'll be taking a nap, and because I'm praying or I'm that's why if you don't have a spiritual head over you, it's a problem. You're fighting a battle by yourself. Because now, even at that moment that God was not speaking to me, in that moment, he was still hearing me. So if you don't have a spiritual father who he can go to talk to about you, because in that space, maybe in my mind, the connection wasn't there at the time. My spiritual father can call me, hey, mom and dad, won't you let me sleep? What is it, cry? What at all is it again? Why are you crying on God so much? No, I have to. Because certain things need to change in my life. And then he'll call me, God said A, B, C. God said this. I said, and then at some point, especially when it came to some assignments, I was like, Daddy, I can't do this. I can't do this. So it's like, you have to understand that the Christian walk that we walk is not a lonely walk. God did not call you to do this thing by yourself. So when the attacks is coming, listen, I read this thing in the Bible and cut such a revelation that there's nothing no one can tell me. The Bible said that someone got delivered. The demon left the person, roamed around to see who he can. When he didn't get anyone, went to go get 7 more powerful demons to come and possess that same person. Because his goal is to bring you down. And we Christians, where 2 or 3 are gathered, 1 puts away 1,000, 2 puts away 10,000. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? So imagine all these things going on, and we Christians, we are not praying.
So, talking about some of the attacks, can we delve into? I know after the the deliverance session, it's stopped, but behind the scenes, talking to Angie, she told me some interesting ones before the deliverance. Just to let people know that it's not just a one-time thing. You fast and pray. You're like, oh, I did 40 days fasting and pray, so I'm done. But it's a marathon that you go on.
Okay. So I did. Yeah. I do remember there was a night where I did experience the same thing that I had before. And I couldn't again. I couldn't move again, and I think I was just humming, like trying to open my mouth, but I couldn't.
That was after marriage?
That was after, yeah. That was after.
I was laying next to him.
Yeah, so she was laying next to me, and she's a light sleeper, so...
very light sleeper.
Yeah, so I was just making noise, trying to move, but I couldn't move. And I think at that point was when I felt her grabbing me and just kind of just praying. And that's when it stopped and I can move again. I woke up. That was one. I can't remember. I know there were some.
It's all pretty much like the same similar instances.
Yeah. But for you, what were you seeing?
I was seeing him literally. He can't move. Like he's laying there, and I think one of the times he hit me. Like his hand, he was trying to move, and he couldn't. Like he can't. He's literally panting and everything. So I woke up and I'm like shaking him and you know when you hear these things in Ghana, I think there's a word for it, monunkum or something like that. Or even with sleep paralysis, when you touch the person is supposed to like elevate. This thing was not going. It wasn't budging. I literally had to hold him and bust into prayer. Literally bust into prayer. And in like a minute, 2 minutes, then he's like up. So it's in a different dimension when this was different with him. So I won't call it, I don't know if it's a different version of sleep paralysis or a different, I don't know what this is.
So were your eyes were shut or your eyes were open?
No, it was shut. It was shut.
But you were aware of your surroundings, like you could hear her praying and stuff like that?
I don't think this one, before we got married, it was coming physically.
Oh.
After we got married, it was coming in a dream.
Okay.
Because with our home, I am very, very adamant about anointing and sanctifying our home. Because I'm not playing. I'm not leaving room for anything. So our homes are always anointed. Our homes, the blood, and I will literally eat the body of Christ and drink, and then sprinkle it around the house with him. Do the same thing, and we'll go around praying in the home and inviting Christ and God into our home. Once He is there, every darkness must disappear. Right now where we are, it's named God's home. And sanctification has been applied. So it was now attacking him in dream. Literally.
Just what you said, it just dawned on me. Like back home, we used to, like when you buy a car, you like get a pastor or someone and like you prove the car, eh? Or when you move to a different place, you prove the house. Like what you
even here. I think when I remember buying a new car, I had my pastor's prayer over it. But even verse 2.
These is not something that people do anymore.
So that's why I'm saying that the devil is working so hard to pull us away from our spiritual weapons, let me put it that way, so that the devices of the devil they are not carnal. But for us, he has to make it like it's normal, so that we are not, our spiritual eyes will be closed towards the things that are really like coming against us. So that's why I say that the crucial thing for a Christian is to have a deeper relationship with God. That's the only time that things are going to be revealed. That's the only times that you understand certain things. The Bible talks about faith comes by hearing, and by hearing the word of God. Every testimony, to me, I believe it's a word of God, because it's something that God has done for the person and it's coming forth. So if you take that, that's why you have to understand that when someone testifies and someone is going through what that person is going through, all of a sudden their faith is boosted. I don't play when it comes to prayer. Let me see something going wrong somewhere. There are times where we are fighting and I'm like, no, this is not a normal fight. And I will literally go pick a chair, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, sit down, let's have a conversation. Something is going on with your son. If it's me, let me know. What do I need to do in this instant to stop this thing? Because we should be fighting about this thing to this point. There's no way. So now I stop the argument and I go into prayer. And all of a sudden, things are now beginning to be in place. There are certain moments that something simple as saying sorry would work. And there are certain instances that saying sorry is not going to cut it. That's when you know that you need to go into battle. If you are sensitive in the spirit, the only way you are going to be sensitive in the spirit is to get a deeper relationship with God in His Word. I don't have anything to give anybody. That's all I have. God. God. Because it has worked for me. My relationship with God, I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, it's the best. And no. The little that I have cracked makes me want to get there even more. And it's funny. The walk is not, it's simple, but it's not easy. So when certain things are going on, and I don't know why God made me a light sleeper, because me, I don't understand. Because this man can lay there 2 seconds asleep.
Just like me.
And every movement in the bed, I'm awake. So it has become a thing for me that when he moves, I'm awake. I need to make sure that he's breathing okay. And it's so funny, sometimes I'm literally like towards him. I'm like touching him, and I'm in prayer. Sometimes when something is not going on, he's asleep. I am praying over his head whilst he's asleep. Oh, you will hear me. Something is off. You will hear me. And I'm not saying in terms of like praying what I want. Whatever is fighting us, I'm speaking to his spirit man. Where 2 or 3 are gathered, it's not just because he's asleep. His spirit man is awake. I hold my husband. When God wakes me up to pray in the middle of the night, I'll hold my husband's hand even though he's asleep. And we are praying. Because that one puts away 1,000 and 2 puts away 10,000. I take it so seriously. So seriously. So he can be asleep, but I know his spirit man is awake. And I speak with his spirit man. Always. Marriage is not, it's something that the devil fights. So it's so sad when you see nowadays that people are getting divorced. Oh, we are not compatible anymore. We fell out of love. What are you talking about? Because it don't make sense to me. But again, to each his own. I know the man God has given me. It's a man I prayed for, even before I met him. And he opened my eyes at the right time to see that he has brought this man for me. And if not for that, and I had married anybody else, at this point, I don't know what my life would have become. I don't. I thank God for this man. I thank God for this man. 5 years into marriage, and the challenges that we've been through, just the span of 5 years. I don't know what I would have done if I don't have this man. People can say that they have the best husband and listen, I have the best husband. I have the best husband. And I prayed for him. Even though I didn't know the type of challenges that we'll be going through. even though I didn't know that for better, for worse, in sickness and in health was going to happen in our first year of marriage. But there are certain prayers that went into my marriage that caused this to be where it is. I'm not saying that he's perfect, or I'm a very hard person to be with. I know myself. You don't have to tell me. Because I am so strong-headed and very independent. But I prayed so much to be the kind of wife that my husband needs. I forgot to teach me, and through research and like I said, if you really want the best out of something, you'll find the best solution. It's your spirit will just pull it out. If you want the negative, you get the negative. It's life. Partly being where I am is because of him. I'm not anywhere. But where I am from where I used to be, it's because of this man.